Hey parents, welcome to today's episode. I am thrilled to have as a guest Enzo Narciso. He is a previously struggling kiddo who's been to wilderness and boarding school and ran and came back home and had lots of hard things happen. And we get to hear how he turned his life around. And it is a beautiful story, a hard story, but also very worthwhile to hear. I'm excited for you guys to just hear it from the kiddo's point of view. I think it's so helpful when parents just have maybe a little bit more insight to what might be going on. Okay, enjoy everybody. Hey parents. We have Enzo here. Hi Enzo.
Hello.
I'm so really excited. I'm thrilled to have you here today. Enzo's a treatment kid, guys, and I know you just heard me say that probably on the intro, but that does not even like cover kind of what happened. And of course, you're an individual, awesome human. And we, as parents, I think anytime I can have a previous kiddo who has been to treatment, who's kind of walked that tough road on here to help the parents, right? I'm just thrilled about it. So, do you want to just kind of start off in the beginning and
Yeah.
just wherever you kind of want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate the time here to get on and share the story. I always say, you know, being able to share the story and the experience, it kind of helps make use of it and make use
Yeah,
of all the chaos. So I love to do
totally.
it. And so I'm super thrilled to be here. And so I guess I'll start with how I started. So I grew up in Seattle. From the exterior looking in, like we were a normal family. Like I have one brother, he's younger, a couple years younger than me, and we were super fortunate growing up. Like, not like billionaire family, but like we were decent enough to never like miss a meal. We weren't like starving, and we were able to do sports and things like that. And we lived in a pretty nice neighborhood in the northern part of Seattle. And I was super fortunate to be in a neighborhood where I had like probably 10 friends that all lived within a
Mm.
10-minute walk of me.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, some were like 2 houses to the right, another one was like 6 houses to the left, others were within 8, 9 minutes walking, 4 minutes walking, so we were all super close growing up, and all our parents knew each other, and so it was like
Mm.
just a super sweet neighborhood to be in, and so we were all super close. And the one thing, it was like I was always in like therapy and seeing psychiatrists since I can remember, like always
Really?
going to the yeah, yeah. And so I would show up at this like therapist office, and I think it was because me and my mother and I, we would always have these disagreements all the time, and I don't know, I don't even remember now at this point like what they were about, but like I remember I would show up at the therapist's office, and I wouldn't be explained like, hey Enzo, like you're gonna see a therapist. Like it was like, oh, you're just gonna have this lady that you're gonna talk to for a little while, and I didn't understand
Yeah.
what or why was going on. So I'd walk in. I remember one time it said like some kind of behavioral health or something that was like behavioral, and I was like, is my behavior like, what is, like, I'm a kid, I don't know what is
You
going
caught the
on.
word on the door?
Yeah, so I saw the word. It was like behavioral therapy, counseling, or something like that, and I just didn't understand. I'm like,
Mm.
must have something to do with how I am, but I didn't really understand what the like whole thing was behind it. So I grew up doing that. It was like third, second grade that I was doing that, and went through the whole ringer of ADHD medications, like whatever one you can think of that were available at the time when I was like in second or third grade. Those I was taking them.
That's fascinating. So
Mhm.
you didn't have a perception of what you were doing is what I'm hearing. Is that right? Like you don't know
Well,
if you
I
were
didn't.
bouncing off the walls or you had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't, and it was just, I think it's part of just being a kid. You don't really think about how you
Totally.
you you are. You know what I mean? I just being me and just doing what I do,
Yeah.
and then now I have this lady who I talk to every once in a while, and I went through multiple of them. Like it wasn't just one the whole time. It was like, oh, try a new one, try a new one, try a new one,
Okay.
and so that's how kind of elementary school and like part of middle school was. But in elementary school, when I was 11, my parents divorced, and 50% of families, they say, have this kind of thing happen, and so I was one of the 50% that did have the divorce happen in the family. in my family, we didn't really talk about anything. If there's something going on or something wrong,
Mm,
just forget about it. Just forget about
right.
it. That's what the like standard protocol was. Like, forget it. Just
Yeah,
don't
it's like
talk
those
about it.
things that families the rules families run by, but it's all subtext, right? It's all
Hmm.
underneath the
Hmm.
communication. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's kind of that we had that conversation one day and never again. So
Mm,
I'm 11 years old and I'm soon to hit puberty and like learning how to become like a young man. And I always hated school, so that was already like a like stress factor for my mom. It seemed more than my dad. And well, so now like my dad moves out, and my brother and I just don't have there's no like, hey, like let's talk about this. What's going on? Like, how you feeling about it? Like none of that.
mm,
And so my dad moved from like apartment to like a friend's house. And at one point, by the time I was like 14 or 15, he moved back to the Philippines. So I'm half Filipino. And so he moved back to the Philippines for like a year or so for a job, and was just like kind of floating around. And I was sitting here and I'm like, 12 at this point. And I don't really know how to deal with anything that I'm feeling, like stress at school, like parents not living together anymore. You go from seeing both
mm,
parents every single day to seeing one parent throughout the week, and then on the weekend a different one, and then like you maybe are with one parent for part of the week and then another for another part, and then like moving from place
yeah,
to place when the one parent is at now a different place. And so it was just a super confusing time for me because I grew up knowing my family to be one unit, and then now it's
yeah,
divided, and there's a lot of movement going on. And so my route to like kind of deal with all that was to start smoking weed. And it wasn't like a conscious thing, like, oh, I'm going to start smoking weed to solve these issues. It was just that,
right.
like,
Yeah,
I'm just like I was just subject to what I was feeling, and like the weed helped with that.
yeah.
So
Do you remember like it's just like you got it at school or
yeah, it was in middle school. And I had friends that were kind of starting to do it, or people that I knew that were starting to do it. And so I tried it, and I liked it right away because it was just an instant. I mean, of course, any kid's gonna love to. Well, I assume most kids are gonna like to be able to, you know,
they seem to like it.
they
It's
seem to
true.
like it. Yeah, yeah, they
I
seem to
mean,
like it. I liked it, and yeah, and so that's it. Kind of went like that. It was not like a daily thing right out the gate. It was more
mm,
like when I can get away with it, because I knew I shouldn't be doing it, or my mom would be upset if I was smoking weed. And so I got caught one time in like seventh grade or eighth grade. I can't remember. It was like middle school that I got caught the first time, and my mom found out and had a freak out. Like, and just it
as
was
we
this
do.
whole, yeah, it was this whole
Yep.
like scenario, right? And so
Yeah.
instead of like having some kind of like thought and like realization about it, I was just like, well, I guess I need to just be more careful when I
Yeah, I
do
shouldn't
this.
get caught. Yeah,
Just don't get
totally.
caught. Like, yeah, just be
Mhm.
a little smarter about it. And that's how I went about it. So I just continued to do it. And by this time, all the friends that I had grown up with were smoking weed too. Like we were like, freshman year about, but like early freshman year or the summer between eighth and ninth grade, I think I got caught again, and the word got out to all the other moms in the neighborhood,
Mhm.
and the dads too, of course, but like the moms kind of chatter a little bit more. And so their solution was like, oh, don't hang out with Enzo. That was what the
Of course, shut you out. Yeah, like you're the bad kid now,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Like
Oh, yeah,
he will pollute the whole group, you know what I mean? And so
yeah,
I don't hold resentment against any of them, because what are they supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
they like, how are they supposed to know what kind of effect that's going to have on the kid who they shut out from the group? And my friends probably didn't imagine that that would happen too. And like, who knows? We can speculate all we want, but that's how it went. And my
yeah.
friends,
It's such a reactive thing, but it's so. I don't. I don't know of a neighborhood that wouldn't do that, right? It happened to my son too, totally. And even we even moved, and they found out why we moved, and they're like, "Why would you bring him here?" You know?
right? You
And
brought a
so,
nuisance
oh,
to the community. Yeah,
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 exactly. And it was, oh, it's so hard. Oh
right.
my gosh. But I also get it, just like you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So I mean, I really can't blame them, because how would they have known that what kind of effect it was going to have on me, and why should they have prioritized that over their kids
Yeah. So
thing. So
hard.
that's where I'm at with it. And so what happened was slowly my friends kind of just started to shut me out. Like I'd hear that they were all hanging out, and like sometimes I'd even hear that they're smoking weed together.
Oh
And
my
I'm
gosh.
like not involved. And yeah, and I'm like, well, what the hell? Like what
Yeah, seriously.
like how does that make sense? And we used to hang out. I remember this is kind of when I realized like, oh, something is going on. Like we used to hang out at the bus stop right after we got off the bus. And we would sit there for hours after school and just talk and just sit there on the corner. And, the school bus from the middle school would come by and drop all the kids off. And like, we would still be there. And like, so we'd hang out all the time right at the corner. And one day I got off the bus, and both of my friends that would have gotten off of the bus, if they did get off the bus, but that got off at the same stop, they were just already walking home. And I just
Oh,
thought, like, this is different. Something happened. Like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe they were both busy at the time or whatever, but it was super unnormal that that would ever happen.
yeah.
And so I kind of started to put the dots together and was left out more and more. And I spent a really lonely freshman year of high school. Honestly, it was mostly just me smoking weed and playing Xbox. Like, that was all I did. I really do feel bad for the kids because some people, this is their experience for all of high school. And I'm like, man, I can't imagine how lonely that is, especially at that time. Like when you're building relationships and you're having friends and you're learning how to become a young man. You're still a kid, but you're figuring it out, And so I'm like 14, and like Xbox and weed is my life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was how my freshman year went. And my grades were never great in the first place, but they definitely didn't improve in freshman year, and they were that was another cause of stress for my mom, who, because we in the area, it wasn't even just my family. It wasn't like, what are you gonna, like, do you want to go to college afterward? It was like, are you going to get a PhD in this or that? Like, are you going to get a master's degree in this or that? Like, what master's degree are you going to get, and what PhD are you going to get after that? Like, period. No discuss.
Okay.
Like, so that was the motto. That was like the protocol of like what life is supposed to be like. And so me having grades that weren't top tier by any stretch of the imagination was probably pretty stressful for my mom, and it seemed like it was stressful for her
And
because, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry. Did she know you were in the basement smoking weed and playing Xbox? I'm sure she saw you playing Xbox and just out of her wits, I suppose, out of her mind, right? Trying to figure out like what to do. Do you
Hmm.
remember any of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would get caught. I would get caught doing it. Always it was like big lecture, freak out, take the
Yeah.
phone away, take whatever, would lose privilege, da 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 da, and and they didn't ever deter me. Like, it just made me want to just not get caught again. Was what
Right.
happened.
You got to be really good, real sneaky.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
And so what happened was that, like, a sophomore year comes around, and I made a friend who was like the most troublesome kid at the high school, right? Like, if or one of them. And
Yeah.
so like
Are you sure
he
that
and I
wasn't
got,
you?
yeah, well, I was one of them. Yeah, so I was like, we partnered up in what we were
Right,
doing.
right.
Yeah, and so basically, like, there were a lot of things that like kind of really drew me to this dude. One was like we just thought the same way. Like, we
Yeah.
really did just have like a connection that we made with each other in kind of being like the outcast. And then
Yeah.
also like he was a bit older than me, and he was able to drive a car, and he was able to
Mm,
always had money for whatever reason. And I loved it because I'm like, well, money is a good way to be able to control my circumstance here. Like,
sure.
I can choose to buy things, I can choose to go places, you know what I mean? And I loved it. I loved it. So that led to kind of, we hit it off. Like, right off the bat, we were getting along super well and spending a lot of time together. And at the time, my dad is like moving from place to place, and all my friends from before aren't talking to me anymore, aren't hanging out with me. And so I felt super close with this guy. And it wasn't only that. So let me back up a little bit. So he and I were spending a lot of time together, and through him, I met a lot more friends. That some of them went to school sometimes, some of them didn't go to school,
Sure.
some were old enough to make that decision for themselves, some were just decided not to do it because their parents never bothered to like make them go to school or try to make them go to school.
Hmm.
So that was kind of the group who I started hanging out with. And what I loved about it was like the consistency of the time spent. So it wasn't like when your homework is done and your grades are okay, then you get to go and hang out with your friends. Like it was like, it was like, we're just going to hang out all day. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way till next Monday. Like we'll hang
Yeah.
out all day. And so I started skipping school and we would just go around and do whatever. And,
Yeah.
and
That
that's
need
kind
to
of
belong, man, that is strong.
absolutely.
You
Yeah,
know, and especially for adolescents, it's strong in all the humans, but especially at that time in child development. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Majorly important. And so we spent every single day together, and the kind of delinquent behavior just got more and more extreme, and it happened super fast. So, my mom I would get caught doing something or whatever, and my mom would take my phone,
Yeah.
or my mom would tell me, "Oh no, you're grounded." Well, my solution was like me and my friends, we were getting in money, and so we were able to have a phone plan. Like I was on a T-Mobile phone plan with my friend, had bought my own iPhone. Like we were able to do those kind of things to where I didn't have to rely on my mom taking things away from me at this point. So
Sure. Yeah.
I love that freedom. And the difference also between the previous friends that I had and these new friends now was that there was just like an amazing sense of fearlessness. So like
Mm,
these were people that did not care what the consequence was. Like if the teacher's mad at you, if you get sent to the principal, if you don't show up to school, like
mm,
the consequence is non-existent. So like just don't even worry about it. And I
mm.
just absolutely loved that because previously it was like, oh no, there's consequence. You have to listen to the teacher. You have to listen to your parents. Like don't have them be mad
Right.
at you, whatever it is. And so I loved that sense of like freedom and just wildness. And
Yeah.
I ran with it.
It's really interesting because it turns out that our children actually don't have to listen to us. I mean, as parents, right? They don't have to, and they don't actually have to go to school, although we think they do. And so, one of those things, of parents is like, oh my gosh, we, we, I don't know, I hate to say it, we think we have all this control, and we really literally hardly have any. And that's really tough for a parent to swallow, right? It's really tough to recognize, especially when your kiddo's going through all this. It's like, oh my gosh, I just really relate to trying so hard to control my son, trying
Mhm.
so hard to like steer him like the right direction or
Yeah.
whatever. And it was just so futile.
Yeah.
And it was so frustrating and heartbreaking. And I remember when he stopped being parental. I
Yep.
remember that. He stopped coming home. He just like, no, I got this. And
Right.
so I really, it's so, it really is helpful just to hear just your perspective of it. Right. And it's
Mhm.
so helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because it's like, yeah, you know what? You're going to take that away from me. I'm going to figure my own way.
Guess what?
And you do.
Yeah. Guess what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what I did. And my friends were super helpful in that because, again, like some of them were a lot older, some of them were driving cars around. Like we were able to go different places, and like part of it was like, yeah, like, do you want to go to Portland like today? And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
And
Let's
like
go.
so it's like, okay, yeah, like well, like when are we coming back? Oh, I don't know. All right, forget about it, just go. And
Oh,
so
wow. Yep.
we would go across the state and down to Portland from Seattle, and like we would go all over the place. And basically, the I guess it was the straw that broke the camel's back was I went down to no, excuse me, I went to California, and I mean, like on like a Tuesday, we decided like, hey, should we go down to California? And yeah, like, okay, yeah, we're gonna go to California. So took off to California and came back after like a week and a half or something like that.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh. Yeah.
yeah, came back and then like went down to Portland like the same night, like dropped a friend off in Seattle, went back down to Portland, like just on the road. And so my mom was like, well, I just don't know what to do. And I don't blame her. Like, how are you supposed to know what to do in that
Oh, yeah.
situation?
No,
And,
yep.
and so her option was to send me to Elements. So I end up,
And that's a
um,
wilderness therapy company. Just
That's right.
okay.
Yeah. So I end up going. Yeah, I end up going to the wilderness.
So did
Um.
she have transportation come get you?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Okay.
Then there was no option
Yeah, yeah.
other than that. Like I was not going to cooperate with any kind of like I'll just leave again the house and like if you want, you know what I mean? Like I'm just there's just no there's no convincing a kid like how I was.
Yeah,
So
totally.
I end up getting transported to the wilderness. So I get there and I have no clue how long I'm going to be there. Nobody's telling me how long it's going to be, and so I had a therapist that would come and he and I did not get along. So like we did not
Okay.
get along because I was not willing to look into any of my own actions or behavior or feelings or anything.
Yeah.
So he would come and we would have like a session and like he would tell me something that would frustrate me and I would just lose it. And I'm like, nope, not dealing with that. Like how are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to
Mm.
know what I'm going through? Like you have paperwork that my parents have filled out or my mom should, like I'm not considering anything that you're going to
What
tell
was
me.
the feeling, do you think, at that point for you? Were you just pissed? Were you like surprised? What was that? What was it?
Mhm. Yeah, I was pretty frustrated. I'll say to put it lightly. I didn't. Life was so insane, and there were so many crazy things going on that once I got transported to the wilderness and everything, I didn't. It wasn't something that was super traumatic for me. It really wasn't, and it was
Okay.
just more like, yeah, it was more like, okay, this is just another crazy thing that's happening, right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Like that's how it was, and so I know the experience is different for everybody, but for me, it was not traumatizing or like I mean even scary because basically my friends and I what the term for juvenile hall, the juvenile detention, so that was called daycare. So if you
Okay.
get in trouble as a minor and you
Okay.
go to the juvenile hall, that's you went to daycare. Nobody cares about that. Like go take a nap, you know,
Oh,
go
okay.
play Xbox. Like that's play time. Like you don't get to talk about it when you come home. If something crazy happened in there, like you just forget about it because it was
So you
daycare.
must have
It's
had friends
irrelevant.
who had gone to juvie, maybe.
100%. Yeah, I mean, it
Oh,
was
okay.
not like, yeah, I mean, a lot of my friends had been to jail. So it
Oh,
was
okay.
like,
Got it.
yeah, they were older. So they were like, dude, you're not going to go to any kind of, there's no consequence. Like, there's no consequence for you. So
Okay.
I
Got
was
it.
like the young runner that would just do whatever, you know what I mean? Because I'm the one that's going to take the fall. And I loved that responsibility. I loved it because I was like, wow, I'm getting a lot of respect from these older guys
Mm-hmm.
and I'm
Mm-hmm.
super useful to this group of people and they're with me
Yeah.
24/7 and they take care of me if I need a place to
Right.
stay, food to eat, weed to smoke, place to be at. If a different state needs to if we need to go somewhere, I can go to another state and do that or go wherever and they're going to be
Mm.
with me and take care of me. So
Yeah. They're
these
like meeting
people
all your needs.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they were like my family. And the part that
Yeah.
some people don't realizes like I was that for them too. Like whatever
Yeah.
what like I was feeling that need for them too by being a part of this group. And this is where I mean this is exactly how delinquent groups begin. Like this is how it all works because these people just don't have anybody except each
Right.
other. And so
Yeah.
they just do what they can to be with each other and to like exist in that kind of community. And so that's how it was. And so I'm in the wilderness, and my therapist and I are not getting along, and I'm pushing everything away, like all the input that the staff are giving me about mindfulness and all this stuff, and the therapy and why and what's going on with you and the family dynamics and things like that. I'm like, nope, don't even tell me about it. I don't care about it. And that's how my stay in the wilderness went. So
Oh, the whole
after that,
time.
the whole time, not
Okay.
until the last day. I mean, even through the last day, like that was the way it went. It didn't change
Mm.
much, and I can't believe they sent me to the boarding school that I got sent to because it was considered more of like a nicer one. Like that's the one everybody wanted to go to, and I was like, sweet,
Oh.
like yeah, I get to go to this one. Like I'm like, okay, cool. So I mean, I told him in the wilderness, I told him I'm gonna run. Just know that wherever you send me, I'm gonna run from that.
Oh, you didn't run from wilderness, but you said I'm going to run from the school.
Right, right,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
So I get to the school and they're like, "Hey, take the trash out." And I'm like, okay, cool, yeah. So I grabbed the trash bag and I run out to the parking lot and dump the thing out. And I'm like, okay, wait, like I could just bolt right now, you know? And I was like, let me wait until I get a little more information, because at the time I can't even point to Utah on the map. So I have
Mm-hmm.
no clue where I am. And so I'm like, okay, give me a second, let me figure out where I'm at and everything, and I'll sort out a way to get back home. So eventually I've learned that, like, oh, you're gonna get a home visit if you behave yourself. And they'll just fly you home, and then you're supposed to come back, you'll fly back afterward.
Yeah.
So I'm like, sweet, like perfect. That's even easier. I'll just chill and hit the gym all the time until my home visit. And that's exactly what I did. So I got my home visit and I bolted and I ran
Okay.
from the home visit. And
You're like, I'll just comply. I'll just do what they say. Do 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 do
yeah,
do. Like,
yeah.
okay.
So I got sent back to Seattle for like a couple days was the plan. And my friends came pick me up and I ran out and put my bag in the car, you know, like with everything packed, like just jumped in the car and took off. And I was in Seattle and
It's like a parent's worst nightmare. I'm going to offer, right? It is like
yeah.
what they are so worried about. It is what they, keeps them up at night. It's what I hear every single time I talk to people, talk to a lot of parents with their home visits. Like,
Mhm.
what if they run? What if they won't get back on the plane? I mean, it is a huge fear. So,
Yeah, and to
yeah,
alleviate that fear, because I don't want to cause panic in anybody.
yeah,
And like, if you're considering having a kid go to a boarding school, do not think that because eventually there's going to be home visits that this is going to happen.
right.
Like
It was just your
there,
experience. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it's very rare that this actually does happen. So I mean, I had friends that were very helpful in this situation and that were super capable of taking care of me for periods of time that were much longer than maybe other like buddies of your son or daughter may
Yeah.
have, you know. So I don't think that this is like a very like
Common thing.
possible reality. Like it is possible, but it's very rare that this actually happens, right? So
Yeah.
I maybe it'll happen, but you'll find the kid after a day or something. You know what I mean? In a lot of the crazy situations, like it usually doesn't last long anyway. Well, so I get home, I bolt, and I'm partying it up with my friends and staying from house to house. And then what happened was the police started coming around looking for me because I'm still a
Mm,
minor at the time.
mm,
So when I got sent to, I guess I'll put a little timeline in here. It's like I got sent to Wilderness at 16. And by the time went on my home visit, I had just turned 17. So
okay.
I'm with my friends and we're partying it up, and the police start coming around. So my friend and I decide like we need to leave the state because all the police around here are knowing what's going on.
Mm,
So we leave the state, and I'm down in Portland, and I figured out like I came to the conclusion like that this is just where life is going to begin for me on my own. Like this is just
mm,
where I'm going to have to start out and like come from like literally just have a couple pairs of clothes with me and like, you know, one pair of
yeah.
shoes, and like this is it. So
And
I'm
there
in
wasn't
Portland.
like when you got back home, it wasn't like, oh man, my family misses me or I should stay with my family. There, you
Well, my
know,
family missed me, and I felt like staying with them, and those were all my friends. So
okay. Yeah.
I was
Okay.
like, that is the family unit for me at the
That's who's
time.
taking care of you and that's who you're
That's
turning
who
into. Got it.
exactly.
Hey.
So I was like, this is great. Like, yeah, I'm just with my friends now, and this is life. So eventually, my older cousin told me, Enzo, you need to go home because she has a son, and she was like, your mother is losing her mind, and she has
Mm,
no clue what's yeah, like. You just have to go home. And a couple weeks have gone by, and I'm losing options to like get money at this point. I'm like running out of money that I had, and like I just decided, okay, you know what? I would just go home and hope I don't get transported again.
ah.
So what happens is I go home and I try to go back to high school. I actually didn't get transported again. I tried to go back to high school, and what happened was I dropped out immediately. It was like 2 weeks that I tried to go back and like
Mm,
participate in school and everything, and it was not going to happen. So life kind of got crazier. And at this point, all my friends had been progressing while I was gone down the route that they
yeah.
were going. And I was in some kind of like rehab or whatever. So I come back home and I need to prove that nothing has changed about me. Like I've not been softened by that experience, and everything
Oh.
is going to be exactly the same. If not, I'm going to catch up right to where you guys are at. So the delinquent behavior got a lot worse. And
Oh, so you
and
kind of had to like up your game, I
I had
guess.
to up it, yeah, because everybody else
Yeah.
was back home doing whatever they were doing for that time, and I was off doing what not even in the picture. So I catch up really quick. The delinquent behavior is getting worse and worse, and I start taking a lot of Xanax pills, and that developed into like a real serious addiction in no time.
Yeah.
So I immediately got into that, and that led me down the even a crazier route than I would have ever imagined that this whole thing would ever develop
Mm.
into, right? So
So that was
eventually,
surprising to you, the Xanax, like the addiction. And
yeah, I mean, at the time I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was like it was going to develop, but what happened was I blinked my eyes and everything was totally different. So
mm,
basically I was living so crazy again that my mom was like, listen, if you're going to be with me, like you're not going to be living with me if you're going to be doing this. And so I came home one night and all my things were packed in boxes, no sheet on the bed. And I woke up in the morning and I had to call my dad, who he had moved back from the Philippines after like a year of being out there. And so I end up calling my dad and I'm like, hey, man, I need to move in with you. So he's like, okay. And he came and picked me up and I went and moved in with him. And we were in this little area up in the more north outside of Seattle. And things just got worse and worse. At the time, he would work night shifts.
mm.
So I'd be gone all day and he'd be sleeping all day. I'd come home and then he's gone all night. And so I'm basically just out and about doing whatever I can. And like to his credit, he had to work, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
not like I can't blame him. So basically that led to just a lot more chaos. And not that like it was because of me moving in with my dad, but like this route just continued. And the drug use just got a lot worse. Eventually I ended up in jail and my mom had told me like, listen, I'll bond you out if you go back to treatment. And I
Okay.
was like, and by this point I had already been 18. And what happened was the boarding school that I was previously at, they had an adult program at the time. So I said, okay, I'll go back if it's that program only, because the therapist there was super like good. Like for whatever reason, I got along really well with this therapist.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm only going to see him. I'm not talking about anything with anybody except for that guy.
Mm.
And so fortunately, I was able to actually go back to Utah and go back to the same program, but their adult part
Can
of
I
it.
can I ask you something?
Mhm.
Was jail like you thought it was going to be?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I guess it was the way it is. It's hard to kind of like think about what I thought. I mean, yeah, it was what I expected, but it was no better than I expected. It was
Okay.
like it was what I expected, but no better.
You're hitting all the parents' worst nightmares, right? Your mother,
Right.
and I know your mom, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, the running from the treatment and coming home in a home visit and bolting and then getting put in jail. And it's interesting. Do you feel like you took anything from jail or are you just like, psh, whatever? Like,
No, I didn't.
okay,
I would.
check.
It was to be expected
Okay.
amongst all my friends and everybody. That was something that was expected, and that's part of the lifestyle. Like that is just part of it. And
Okay. Got it.
so I didn't like it, but I was like, all right, well, like okay. And so I agree. I go back to treatment, and I finish out my high school there, and I come
Okay.
back home, and I immediately blow it again, just right out the gate. Like a couple days go by, I'm popping pills again. And
And you
what
were
it came
clean in the treatment center, I
Yeah,
take it,
yeah,
or
yeah,
the boarding school.
yeah, exactly,
Okay.
yeah. So I come home and basically my mind was just not willing to
Mm,
like change. I just didn't want to change, and all my friends
yeah.
back home were still in the same exact thing. And there's just no way I'm gonna be like, no, you guys go ahead and do that. I'm gonna live a different way. Like those are all my friends, like my best friends that I'm spending every single day with.
Yeah.
So there, I just got looped right back into. I looped myself back into those people, and that's how that went. So a lot of craziness happened between that and like this next part here. So I'll just kind of jump over that. But basically, another another little while went by, and the drug use progressed from pills to like other things at this point, and I still loved to pop pills, but there were more things coming around, and eventually I had an overdose in 2017. So I wake up in the hospital and leave
And you
against
did not
medical
know you were
advice.
going that way. I mean, you don't know you're gonna overdose, right? You're just like, "I got control." Is that kinda how the mindset?
Yeah, I was just going with whatever was happening, and then oops, like took a little bit too much, right? And
Yeah,
so
okay.
I overdosed, checked out of the hospital against medical advice, and what happened was I continued to take pills, and I was taking fentanyl actually, and what happened was a couple days later I overdosed again,
Oh, it
and
was
this
a
one
couple
was a
days
lot.
later? I didn't know that. I knew you
Yeah,
had overdosed twice, but I didn't know it was
yeah,
twice.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was like really quick, and so I another couple days go by, and I overdose again right after that,
Mm,
and that one was extremely serious. So I
yeah.
was found in a car with no heartbeat, foam at the mouth, and basically was put into a medically induced coma for 3 days. They gave me Narcan in the moment there, and like heart was not beating, so they were beating my heart, resuscitating me, and eventually they brought me to the hospital, and I was in a coma for 3 days. And I woke up, and I was like, man, what happened? I thought I was in jail, and my mom was there, and I was like, am I in jail? And she goes, no, you overdosed. And she's crying at the time, like she didn't say it that stoically.
Right, I'm
Um,
sure she is.
yeah, and so I'm like, man, I like, wow. I say it's like the most painful and brutal experience that I've ever had after that 3 day coma. When I woke up, there was physical rehabilitation. I mean, I had to learn to walk again. I
Oh,
learned
whoa.
to I learned to read an analog clock with the hands instead of the digital style. I
You just
learned
lost some
to
of that.
yeah, and all my body was completely atrophied because of the lack of oxygen that was happening for who knows how long before they
Mm.
hit me with the Narcan and got my heart to beat again. So I took a month to recover, and after that, I was like, you know what? Like I'm gonna pay the price for all this. Like if I keep doing this, I'm gonna pay the
Wow.
price. Yeah,
Did
I
that did
understood.
yeah, did that feel like the first time that kind of awareness had dawned on you?
Yes, that was the
Yeah.
first time that I was like, whoa, let me think about what I'm doing here. Like
Wow.
there's gonna be a real consequence here
Hmm.
if this continues. And so I wasn't quite sure how I was gonna go about dealing with that thought. But what happened was miraculously there was a place at the time. So my dad had moved to San Diego. And at the time I was like, maybe I need to get out of Seattle. And so a room opened up at the house that he was renting a room at. And so the landlord was like, yeah, your son can move down here. When my dad asked, like, can he come down and live down here? So I got out of Seattle and I moved down to San Diego. And that's where kind of everything started to fall in line, because basically I had realized like I am the one that is going to suffer the consequence if I keep living like this. Like I'm going to pay the price.
Hmm.
So I had a handful of court cases that I was dealing with, flying back to Seattle, going to court, and one of them had me go to like a 60-day partial hospitalization program where it was like a rehab that you go to every single day. So I did that, and on the last day, I got a call from a job that I was interviewing at. Literally, it was the last day that I was at this rehab. They were like, "Hey, do you want to come in and do an interview?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And so I did that, and I got this easy little job at Marshall's. All right. So I was like, okay, this is a good place to start. So so I go and I've got this job, and I had two responsibilities. One was to check out the customer at the register, and the other was to try and convince them to get a credit card. And
Right.
so I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is simple enough. Like, let me add a little goal onto that, and I'm just going to show up early every day and just be on time every single day. And so I started doing that. And then I added another little goal on top of it, which was like, if they call you and ask you to come in on your day off, just say yes right away. Don't think about like an excuse that you can make. Like, I'm not doing anything anyway. So I just started doing those two things, and things were going super well. And I was going down that kind of just learning to work and like plan ahead, like drive to work early if there's
Do
traffic
you
and things like that. Yeah.
yeah, do you know what I mean, I think you kinda talked about it, but do you really know what changed? You just decided that it was that you were the one who was going to live the consequences. Instead, do you think before you were like, nothing can touch me like that?
So before it was more like, this is the life that I'm living and there are consequences that come with it. I mean, I have a handful of friends that had already died by this point,
Okay.
and I was like, okay, this is just the way that life is. Like, life is just this way. Some people die early. Some people go to prison.
Okay.
Some people end up in these crazy situations for long periods of time. And I'm like, okay, that's just part of the consequence. And I remember I'd go to restaurants and I'd look at people ordering beer. Maybe see people that are like 25, like early 20s. And I'm like, man, that's got to be nice to be able to do that. Like, I don't think I'll ever be able to do that. I don't think I'll ever get the privilege to order an alcoholic beverage in a restaurant because I might die before there or go to prison. So
Wow. Okay.
before
So
21.
yeah, that's so interesting. Because I do a lot of work with mindsets and thoughts and things. So I think it's pretty fascinating the thoughts that were playing out in your mind. I'm like really interested in that because our thoughts lead to our feelings, lead to our actions. And
Mm-hmm.
so that I think is just so helpful to articulate that you would just come to, this is just what's going to happen. This is how things go. This is what life is. I probably won't make it to 25. Like, wow. Like,
That's
what do you
life.
like now? What do you think of those thoughts? It's like,
Well, I mean, I to look back on it now, I can't believe that I was ready for that.
right.
I can't believe it because I wasn't even hardly like, it was just, it's insane to look back and think about how I was thinking now at this point, right?
Yeah. Okay. I wondered, yeah, what your, I guess what your thoughts are. I hate to say judgment, but yeah, just like, what do you think about that back then? Does that seem crazy to you now?
It seems insane now because of what what now I know is possible out of life.
Right.
So now, because before it was like, no, 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 that's what happens. Like,
Oh
oh,
God.
no, no, no,
Okay.
you think you're gonna be a 40-year-old man at some point? Like, yeah, maybe, but you'll be in prison, or you won't get there. You'll be dead. That was in my head as this is what's gonna happen
Okay.
because this is
And
what we
and
see.
that's, yeah, because that's the life you were living with. That's the friends you were hanging out with. That's the information you were
Yeah,
being given.
people are going to prison 2 years, 4 years, whatever. Like, people are going, and people die,
Yeah.
and that's just the way it was. And like, it's like, okay, this is the lifestyle. I better enjoy every moment I can before that day. That I either see the judge and she tells me 5, 10 years or whatever, or it's just my last day. So just live it up. And
Okay. That's so
so,
helpful.
so like, we were all living so wildly, and nobody, nobody wanted to go to prison. Nobody wanted to die, but we were sort of, everybody was just in this phase where, in this lifestyle where we were pretty much just living it up, and hopefully we get lucky and don't end up that way. It was sort of in the cards, and everybody kind of knew that. And so now I actually almost die and learn to walk again, learn to speak again, like everything restarted for me.
Wow.
And yeah, and I was just like, okay, let me go back and think about what I'm doing here. Like, let me just think about it real quick.
So
And
was that
yeah,
the like really the first time that you had sort of had that awareness of like, huh, I may not actually want to do that anymore?
yeah,
Yeah.
that was the
Okay.
first time. I mean, there were times where I would be sitting alone with, no money, no hope of any, just no hope. And I would be sitting there and I'm thinking like, I don't know, like, this is all pretty whack, but it was never something that was like, you need to take action and change this. Like,
Okay.
it just wasn't something that I felt was, I was so deep in it that
Yeah.
I just was so committed, and even like committed to, like, I'd already chosen this, like, this is the way it's going to be.
Hmm.
And like, there would be moments where I would go back and double think things, rarely, but never to any extent where I would actually take action.
Okay. But
Right.
this at this
Mhm.
point you were ready.
At this point, this is now, it's impossible to deny it.
Okay.
So I was sitting there, and fortunately, I'd moved to California now, and this is fresh after my overdose. And, um, I was handling court case, and basically I had to go and do a rehab. And so I did like a 90-day rehab, and things after that really did start to just kind of click once I
Hmm.
decided like this is going to be a change here. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to make a change. And
It's so interesting. Just what you said. I just want to bring it up. It's like after I decided.
yeah,
That's like the simplest sentence, but I think it's probably the most powerful sentence. It's like after I decided, right? It's like then it's like, oh, then you just do it. That,
100%.
I mean, that
Yeah.
is, and that's just powerful. So thanks
Yeah.
for,
It was a decision. Yeah, and it was the same with school. Like before, I'd never wanted to apply myself to school. I didn't want to listen to the teacher. I didn't want to do the homework. I didn't want to read the book. But as I was saying, like I went through this 90-day thing, and this is where like kind of things started to change. So I had this job, and I was I mean, I go from having like no structure throughout my day at all to like this rehab, and then now to this like new job. And so I just said, okay, my goal at this job is going to be just show up early every day. And so that really ended up working well. And they started offering me like, oh, do you want to stay later, or do you want to come in on your day off? And so my next goal was to just never say no in those situations, because I'm not doing hardly anything anyway. I was just
yeah.
work. That was my only job. And so,
Where did you feel the motivation came from though? Because I'm sure you weren't like, this is my dream job. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, so it's a great that you asked that, because it was really the fact that I kind of felt like I wanted to make a point. Like I wanted to make a point. Like now that I know that the consequence of if I don't want to take life seriously is that, and what I
yeah.
went through, like, and it can get worse. And I'm seeing friends of mine back home, they're losing their lives, they're going to prison. I
Mm.
was like, if I'm gonna be out here living a healthy life, or living just any life at all, I'm gonna do it well. Because
Mm.
there's been this other chaotic route that I've gone down, and it was not going well, and it's not the right way to live, right?
Yeah.
So I just decided, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it the right way. So I'm gonna show up early, and I'm gonna stay late, and I'm gonna come in on my Saturday or whatever it is. And so that kind of, people pick up on that when you have that.
Yeah.
And so basically, I that job was going well, and then one day I ended up actually getting fired for a crazy reason. It was an absolutely insane reason. And this is like 2 years, I mean, maybe a year and almost 2 years, about 2 years later after having this job and doing okay at it, right? And doing pretty well.
Okay. Yeah.
So the customer told me, "Oh, Enzo, you can keep the change." Or they didn't use my name, but they were like, "You can keep the change." And I was like, "Okay, great." There's like a quarter or something, like a couple of cents, or whatever it was. So I kept it, and they fired me over it. And so,
Oh. Oh.
yeah, and for most people, like they would be like, "Oh my gosh, I tried to change my life," and this is my assumption how most people
Sure.
may do it. They get discouraged by it because it's
Yeah.
like just a complete nonsense reason. The customer told me have it, and then I said, "Okay, thank you," and then I got fired. Well,
Right.
anyway, I realized like, okay, there's got to be something better in the world for me than it's just this cashier job, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember the time it stuck was, so I started applying for other jobs and whatnot. And I was walking around Walmart one day, and I was thinking to myself, I could probably get a job here at Walmart. Like I could probably get a job here at Walmart, and I'm gonna I'll probably get like some kind of promotion after a little while. And then I stopped and I said, no, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not getting a
Yeah.
job at Walmart. I'm going for a better job. Like my job, it will improve from the last job. And so I
Awesome.
actually did get a better job. It was across the whole city of San Diego. And it was a super nice restaurant in La Jolla, California. And so I would drive over there all the time. And I ended up doing really well at that job, because basically what I did was I took the goals and the things that I was doing at the previous job and just applied it to the next one. But this is a better job even. And
Yeah.
so the, the management team there understood, like, oh gosh, this guy shows up 40 minutes ahead of time every day. Or like, they're like, do we tell him the right time to show up? Like, what is like going on? So I show up every single day so early. And they were like, oh my gosh. So I continued doing that, and I continued taking it like extremely seriously, even though it was pizza delivery. So this is like a really
Okay.
nice pizza, Italian, pasta, chicken wings, and like craft beer down in La Jolla. So I took it super seriously. I was delivering pizza. I made it a goal, never forget anything. Like you have a one job is to bring the pizza to the customer, and people would forget things. They would
All
forget
the
items
time. I
at the
mean, right?
restaurant. Yeah, I
Oh,
couldn't
all the
believe it.
time.
I
Nobody
couldn't believe
cares.
it. Yeah, and I was like, gosh, this is gonna be easy to have a like an outstanding performance in this if I just never ever forget anything. And so I show up early, stay late, come in on my day off, and never ever forget anything, and always bring the customer exactly what they want, and be or try and get there ahead of time from when we told them we're going to show up and
Nice.
things like that. And so that management team noticed like, oh my gosh, this guy is doing pretty well, and they gave me a promotion. And then eventually, a little while later, I got another promotion. I moved onto the management team of the restaurant, and so I was an assistant manager there for. By that time, it was about a year, and then I did another year there. And what happened right when I got that position on the management team was I was going to school at the same time, and
Wow.
my I had a yeah, and I had a assignment to basically reach out to somebody in the industry and to ask them how they got to where they are. And so what I did was I reached out to the owner of the boarding school where I was sent when I was younger, the one I ran from and the one that like I
Okay.
went back to, and I called him and I was like, "Hey, like how did you do all of what you did? Like it sounds like a pretty sweet job, and like I'd like to, know about how you got there." And so we had a discussion about it, and I was going to ask him for a job at the end. And then what happened was before I could ask him, he offered, he said, "Enzo, why don't you just come out here and finish school out here and work for me at the boarding school?" I said, "Okay, no problem, like done." I was gonna
Oh
ask you
my
the same
gosh.
question. Yeah, and
And then what were you
um,
studying?
so it was psychological sciences.
Oh, nice. Okay, that all
Mhm.
checks out.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I called the guy and it worked out. And so I said, "Well, I just got this promotion on officially on management at this nice restaurant, and I don't want to just jump ship right here, so give me a year." And so I did that for a year, and then I
Wow.
came out, and then I moved to Utah, and I began working at the boarding school. And so I remember the first kid that I met, he was actually a kid from Seattle. And I was
Oh,
like, "No
wow.
way. This is just crazy." And so I walk into the same house where I was, about 8 or 9 years earlier, and I walk in and it's a kid from Seattle, the first kid I meet.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, "This is insane." And so
Yeah.
so I was like, "All right, this might be the right spot for me." So I end up falling in love with the job completely.
Yeah.
And same things apply, like same goal, show up early every day. If they need help, stay later. Like that's a priority. That those goals were like a high priority for me. So I was going to school at the same time, and then eventually, it was about 6 months later, was promoted to a supervisor where I would start training new staff on like how to deal with the kids and run the daily schedule. And a lot of it was basically just like how to build rapport and make a good relationship with the kids where they trust you. And so that was what I did. And yeah, it just is it's no it's no surprise to me why people stay in this industry as long as they do, because
Yeah.
basically what I say is like there's a double infinite good of what we do here in this. It's basically like the one side of the infinite part is where like so these kids are on a route where there's a lot of potential suffering in the future, right?
Yeah.
And the suffering is infinite. You can have infinite suffering and it can just continue
Yeah.
to get worse. It can get worse and worse and worse and worse. And then, so that's the one. So if we can stop them from experiencing that or help them in some way to get out of that, then that's an infinite good because we've stopped them from an infinite amount of suffering,
Hmm.
right? The other
Yeah.
side of the double infinite thing right here is that like if we do have anything to do with their trajectory changing and they do end up taking some part of information from it, we've now opened that up to an infinite amount of good that that kid can do in the world, and an
Hmm.
infinite amount of good that his family is going to feel, and how many people is that kid going to help, and is he going to
Yeah.
have kids in the future that end up doing great things. And so there's a double infinite side of this that I just find so meaningful, and that's kind of the reason why I just love to do what I do so much.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, what
Yeah.
brings up to me is what I've experienced personally coaching parents is that I am, I would say, constantly learning from the parents that I coach about myself and about these little, just little different nuances of where I can learn and where I can just where I feel related to or where I find learning or whatever it is. And so there's maybe even a triple effect because
Yeah,
did you find that when you're working with your kids, you're like, oh my gosh, like this was me, or oh gosh, I
absolutely.
remember thinking that. And then you were able,
Yeah,
yeah, right. There's a thing there where it's
yeah,
pretty, I don't know what the word is, a little existential. It's kind of weird, but
yeah. Well, I mean, every single kid that I've ever seen and talked to in the industry is at some level reminds me of me. And some of
yeah,
them I'm like, "Oh my gosh, dude, like I'm exactly the like," but even the ones that are pretty different and they don't have it, there's some aspect to their thinking or their living and stuff that is just identical to me at some
yeah,
capacity always. And so it's just kind of, you know, it's really it is a triple infinite maybe because then I get a benefit from
yeah,
working with them and so I just love it. So
yeah. That's
so yeah,
awesome.
that's where I'm at with it. And so yeah. So that's the
Mm.
story.
Well, I just want to thank you for for sharing. Hey parents, thank you so much for listening today. I know that might have been a little bit of an abrupt ending there, but we've got to pause because Enzo has so many more wonderfully insightful things to say, and he will be back with us next week. So make sure to tune in. Bye bye.